Good evening, snooker fans. This is the 15 Red podcast on March the 17th, 2021. And tonight, once again, joining me from Northern Ireland is Scott. How are you, Scott?
Very well, thank you, Mike.
Okay, and Graham at the moment is busy, so maybe he will join us at some point later on here, or maybe we're just doing a dual session here.
Yes, I'm sure we can fit in whatever Graham would have said anyway.
Absolutely, without any question.
Yeah.
All right, so starting off the day, you're going to update us with some Pro Series information.
Indeed, yeah. Well, we jumped from top the final group in the first stage yesterday with 6 matches out of 7. And Group 1 of Stage 2 is being played today. 5 matches have been played by all 8 players. And after those 5 matches, Ali Carter and Martin O'Donnell are in first and second place and are therefore in line to qualify for the final group.
Oh, very interesting stuff. So,
Yeah.
Also another note, I think it was from yesterday, where Jimmy White made a 140 against Stephen Hallworth. And that's the highest break he's made in, since 2010, I believe.
Indeed, yes. And only his second 140-plus break since 1998.
Yeah, that's an impressive thing. He's actually had a decent season this season, Jimmy White, all things.
Yes, of course, he's nowhere near as consistent as he was, but it's good to see him playing reasonably well again.
Yes, absolutely. Also, we are exactly 31 days before opening break-off at Sheffield.
Tremendous.
Yes. So,
Right.
so as you well know, yesterday we had Dave Hendon on.
And, tremendous interview, I thought.
Yeah, I thought it was very, very good. There's lots of things to pick through here. So, on a general sense, what was your takeaway?
Well, the major point that I wanted to raise, and maybe we'll get onto it later, but you know, Dave's just a great commentator. But the main point I wanted to raise with him was when we talk about great World Championship matches, the best of 25 don't really get talked about. I know Graham picked one in our countdown that was a semi-final today, and we'll get on to that in a moment. But you know, everybody talks about first round shocks and semi-finals, but there's that bit in the middle. You know, the last 16 in the quarter-finals both played over a best of 25 distance, and some of the best of 25 matches have been, in my estimation, some of the best.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think the round 2 and the quarterfinals, they are totally undervalued as regards as quality. That you can think of quite a few good matches from there. So and I think Graham's one, he picked Matthew Stevens and Ian McCulloch. That was a really hidden match. I hadn't, to be honest, I hadn't seen it until he posted it, and then I looked through it. Yeah, that was a higher caliber match.
Yeah. 17-14 was it?
Yep, 17-14.
Semis in 2005.
So, onto a more specific thing that Dave was talking about. I thought his point on the crowd, not having a crowd, was valid. He seemed to think it didn't make much difference to standard of play at all.
Well, I agree, because as he said himself, snooker's a game where you have to be quiet when you're watching anyway. So whether there's 1,000 people watching or whether there's nobody watching, it's the same for the players on the table.
Yep.
I mean, I know the crowd do generate an atmosphere, and I know you get the odd cough at the wrong time or the odd mobile phone going off that sort of adds to the drama of things. But in general,
the phone going off's always good, isn't it?
yeah. But in general, you're meant to be quiet. I know the shootout's different, but nonetheless, you're meant to be quiet. So it doesn't really make much of a difference. And I didn't go so well. Dave didn't really say this, but I would say that in terms of quality, this has been the best season for finals. As Dave said, every final we seem to see now is a classic.
Yeah, he did say that. I think there is a lot of truth to that, but is it just because the field is just so strong now, and usually you're looking at two top 10 players competing, other than the Jordan Brown, you're looking at two top 10 players every final battling it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought his point on the crowd was very very accurate
and very perceptive.
He also, and I know we've kicked this around on our podcast, but he also doesn't think there's too many tournaments on the tour. So,
well, I know I said there might be, but on reflection, I actually agree with Dave. Like, as he said, we don't have to, we as fans, I know we're sort of hardcore, so we probably will end up watching everything, but you don't have to watch everything.
No, that's true. And also he was suggesting that the players can pick and choose what events they play in as well. And I mean, Ronnie O'Sullivan's done that for years.
Yeah.
So yes, I agree. There's not too many tournaments, but yeah.
No, because as he said himself, you don't want to go back to the early 2000s, where there's 2 or 3 months between tournaments and there's only 6 ranking events a year plus the Masters.
Yeah, exactly. When you put it that way, I would much rather have too many than too few.
Yeah.
So, also, another interesting point that he raised was about Crucible players and non-Crucible players, like as regards as results and fitting in and all of that. I thought that was an interesting concept that he was saying.
Now, I want to spend quite a bit of time on this, if you don't mind, Mike, because I've got quite a bit to say on that, actually. Okay. Well, there are certain players and their games are built for Sheffield.
Okay.
Like John Higgins, for example. I know he's my tip to win the thing, but, so I'm slightly biased in that sense, but, I just think his game, like, how do you get to 8 Crucible finals? You don't get to 8 finals without having a good game for the place. I mean, he's second on the list of Crucible centuries behind O'Sullivan. So,
yeah,
he certainly played well there over the years. And actually, in terms of his record, he has the highest number of the record for the number of centuries made by a winner, with 14, when he won it for the first time in '98. I know Hendry made more in 2002, but he finished runner-up.
Yep. Yeah, no, that is correct. So, so of this year's collection of players, I agree the draw is a big part of it, but I also think how your form is. He kind of didn't seem to think that form was a big issue. I think you do need to be playing pretty well going into the Sheffield with some confidence and stuff.
Well, yeah, but you can understand what Dave's saying as well, because yes, of course, good form is helpful. Of course it is. Like, nobody's denying that. But the Crucible does bring its own pressure and its own prestige and its own.
So, okay, so of the guys that we're going to see starting out here soon, which players do you think are not Crucible players?
Mark Allen, unfortunately, won semi-final, and that was 12 years ago. Well,
yeah,
12 years.
2009.
2011 years ago then. No, 12, sorry, 12 years ago. Ding won final, two other semi-finals. Maguire, two semis.
Yep.
Stevens is a crucible player, I would say. Despite,
That's a borderline one, but I would say probably is because he's made a couple of finals. He's played a few longer matches. He's consistently not like first round exits like Maguire and like Allen and stuff.
One thing I would say about Judd Trump, though,
okay,
he always and Davis said this himself, Trump always makes a bit of an ordeal of his first round.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? 2 years ago, we had trouble with Anu Chipchaya. He went to decide.
Like if the Reds had have split better in that decider for Anu, the entire course of the championship might have been entirely different.
He certainly wouldn't have been lifting the trophy. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's a bit difficult to say Trump is now Trump's been in two finals, but it's a bit difficult to say yet that Trump definitely is a crucible player.
Yeah, you know, that's funny because I thought about this and I still think, I know he's won a world crown and I don't believe that's the defining moment.
No.
It's definitely an argument for him being a crucible player, but I still think he's got to do it a couple more times before we can definitively know. Like, say he loses in the second round, hypothetically, he loses in the second round again. What do you actually view? What do you think of that? Like, you kind of wonder. It just makes you wonder.
Like, going back to the 2018 final between Williams and Higgins, that is a match between two quintessentially crucible players.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe that's why he picked that as one of his best matches.
You know, I mean, John Higgins, the man who, like, think about this for John as well. John had to qualify once in 1995. He's been in the top 16 every other year since.
Yeah, there you go. That's a great fact. I like that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't. He's like you say. He's the pinnacle crucible player because he can win short matches. He can win long matches over days.
Like, right. Although he's won it 6 times, and therefore it's obvious.
Yep.
You know, in one sense that Ronnie's a crucible player. He's not quite the John type of crucible player, is he?
Well, the biggest difference, obviously, Ronnie's won it more than lost. But the fact that John's got to so many finals, and as you said, if John was to get to one more world final, that would equal Stephen Hendry's record. So
9.
That does count for something. So
I know.
Yeah. So talking off of that.
Yeah.
Currently, I know we've talked about it, but Dave was saying that he believes Mark Selby and Ronnie O'Sullivan is the best rivalry, and I think that probably is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Far be it from me to disagree with the game's leading commentator, but
look, who do you actually think? Because obviously you do disagree in a way. You're almost reluctantly agreeing. So you got something.
Right. Yeah. Look, I know it's not really a rivalry in the sense of like they don't really get on. They're not fond of each other. You know, these two are fond of each other. But Ronnie and John Higgins, they've just produced so many classic moments against each other.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is a generational rivalry, though. You're talking about a generational rivalry where they started young together and they've played against each other together and they've grown up together and now they're playing all these finals and world championships together. So it's a generational rivalry. But
Yeah, and Ronnie has said that he views John as his only true rival, by the way.
That's true, but I think he might change his mood on any given day on that, because he could, right now, if he was to play with Mark Selby again in a final, you don't think that would generate some interest and some fireworks?
Yeah, well, it might do, but I mean, look, right. I think the reason Ronnie doesn't particularly like playing Selby, the 2014 World Final, as Dave said, Ronnie was the best player for 16 days in that World Championship in 2014.
Correct. Yep.
But he lost it on the last day, and I think that's what really sort of set him back at Sheffield then for the next few years, because he's like, I turn up, I play unbelievable snooker for 16 days and then get beat on the last day.
But that's the nature the nature of the sport. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. But saying that, I think a rivalry has to have that needle, that edge to it, as Dave put it. There has to be an edge. There has to be that disdain, maybe is a strong word, but that there has to be that animosity there. Where the other one is respect, is a respecting. Again, I would say that the Judd Trump, Jack Lazowski, that's not, to me, that's not a rivalry. That's they're just competitors. But to me, that's not a rivalry. It's one-sided. They're buddies. They practice together. That to me is not a rivalry. It's like friendly fire, maybe.
Yes, I know that.
So all right. So yeah. So this will be our final conversation on this grassroots snooker thing, because I know over the few interviews we've done, we've gone over about how it's very healthy at the top and it's decent in the middle, and at the grassroots it's not so strong, specifically in the UK. So what do you think a solution or a way forward is? Do you think it is to take a similar approach to what they're doing in China, and that's make these academies and teach it in schools and really push hard for it?
Yeah, I think we'll have to do that in the UK. We'll have to learn to grow the grassroots and get the academies and get the Chinese players, or take the Chinese model and use it more in Britain. But as Dave said, it is a cultural thing.
Yes.
People are playing video games now. People are, as we're doing now, staring at screens all the time.
Yeah, no, it's very true. So yeah, I think that is, as you say, it would be, if it's broke, if you can emulate something that works, why not do it? But you've got to get this, specifically in the UK. You've got to get it, get kids interested in it again, and yeah, it's a bit of a weak situation. So, but all right, so we went over lock or no lock as well. I thought that was an interesting little thing with Dave. So I'm going to go over it with you, and we can kind of kick this around, okay? So Ronnie will finish with a career of 1,500 plus centuries.
No.
Lock?
No lock.
Okay, I'm gonna say lock. He's at 1098 currently, so he only needs 402. He's going to play for a period of time here. I have a feeling over, say, a 5 to 10 year period, he could grind out 400 centuries. So I'll take lock on that.
Can I interrupt and ask another one?
Yeah, of course.
Will John get to 1,000?
And what's his number at?
8-2 or 830, I think.
So he's 170 before he retires. I
Yeah.
think that's a lock. I think that might be one of the things he looks for. 1,000 centuries.
5th world title or 1,000 centuries?
Well, I mean, I could see him definitely getting 1,000 centuries. He's playing pretty well still. Like, it's not like he's, and if he's motivated, same thing applies to Ronnie. If these guys are motivated, if it's something that interests them to get, they'll get it. They'll find a way to get it.
By the way, I should say Graham did message me and say he was late, but he can't get in. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Is there a way we can let him in or no?
Not without starting again. So we'll just carry on.
Okay. Because yeah, I didn't know if we could let him in or not. All right. So you're saying not a lock. I'm saying lock. Will there be more than 79 centuries at this year's World Championships?
Definitely.
Yep.
Lock.
Yep. Both.
Because bear in mind, as I said to you off air, there were 100 in 2019.
Okay, so that's an easy one then. And I think Dave had that as a lock as well.
Yeah.
Judd Trump will have 40 ranking titles by his 36th birthday.
I'm with Dave on that. I'm on the fence. I'm not answering that.
I'm going to say it's a lock. I think it is. I don't believe on sitting on the fence first off. It's either it is or it isn't. And I'm going to say he only needs 18 more in 4+ years. I think he's going to do it.
I know, but can he keep? No, well, he doesn't have to keep doing it quite these numbers, does he? So I've got to say lock there. Actually.
It's a lock. I'm saying lock on that one.
Because he doesn't have to keep going quite these numbers. He can get sort of 3, 4.
Exactly. So, all right. So there will be 3 different semi-finalists at this year's World Championships as compared to last year. Lock or no lock?
Yeah.
Lock?
Yeah. Lock.
Lock.
Lock, yeah.
And this might be the most pretentious one of the lot. And I will preface.
Contentious, you mean?
So, yeah. Yeah, contentious. I changed the question. We said 2 ranking events for Jack Lisowski. I'm changing it to 1 because 2 I don't think he's doing, and it seemed pretty, at least from Dave's position, it didn't seem like he was going to get it. So I'm going to say to you, by March 17th, 2022, Jack Lisowski would have won 1 ranking event. Lock or no lock?
Yes. Lock. Lock.
Yeah, I'm not convinced of it. I'm going to say no lock.
No, but when you say no lock, you're saying it's not guaranteed.
Yeah, of course. It's obviously it will or it won't. I think, as Dave said, we all want him to win, of course. But the field, and he's ranked 10th in the world currently. The guys in front.
Yeah.
He would still have.
And I mean,
9 in.
But again, the thing with Jack is this. I keep, in Jack's defence, going back to his opposition.
Yeah.
He's had Neil Robertson twice, Mark Selby once, and Judd Trump 3 times.
Well, that's very true, but if he's going to win a ranking event, in all likelihood, he's going to have to beat one of these guys. Right?
I know.
So it's not a lock that he's going to win that. There's just, unless he gets one where the Jordan Browns or someone from a higher has a run, you know. I don't think he'll win a World Championships this year.
No, good, great. No, I'm not saying that.
I wouldn't be putting a Canadian dollar on him, that's for sure.
No.
So,
speaking of Canadian dollars, what about our guest for next week?
The Grinder, or Champagne.
The man himself.
Yeah, or Champagne Cliff. I didn't realize he had that nickname too. I have to ask him about that.
3-time Masters champion, and of course,
1980.
one of the few survivors from the original Crucible field in 1977.
Correct. Yes, he played John Spencer in the final there, didn't he?
Yes, 25-21 that was.
Wow.
Can you imagine having a ticket for all the sessions of that one?
Yeah, no kidding. That was interesting, wasn't it? 25-21. That's what, 5 sessions? It's got to be.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know. And then Spencer and Thorburn back then, they were a different type of player too.
Yeah, I mean, you've certainly got your money's worth for that.
Absolutely. So I got a couple trivia questions for you just to keep you honest here. I know, I'm sure you'll get it, but all right. The first question is, only one of Ronnie O'Sullivan's 147s was in a final. What was the tournament?
Only one of his the Welsh Open in 2014, wasn't it?
Very nice. And it was against
Ding.
Against Ding Junhui, correct. Right?
The wonder shot on the final red, left-handed,
yes,
remember?
I remember that. That was a good one. Okay. And I will only give you the second one. The rest I've got to save for the World Championships. The second one is, Jimmy White was nicknamed the Whirlwind. What other player had that same nickname?
Jim White?
No. It was Cliff Wilson.
Cliff Wilson, the Welshman.
Cliff Wilson's nickname was the Whirlwind, sir. Yes. My God, I thought you would get both of those. But you got one. I give you credit. You got the Ronnie one. So, all right, I'll save the other ones for the World Championships because otherwise I'll run out of questions. So.
Well, Cliff Wilson, that was a bit obscure.
Well, I mean,
But at least it shows that I can be beaten.
I looked up the Whirlwind when I was looking up the Jimmy White thing, and it popped up Cliff Wilson. That's the only way I knew, because we were talking about the 140. And Whirlwind, Cliff Wilson. I was like, oh well, I wasn't aware that he was.
Well, since you're talking about the 140, right? I'll throw another one at you then. I'll throw one at you then.
Boy. Okay.
Try and get my own back. Right. Jimmy made a 143 in the World Championship in 1998 against a Welshman. But which one?
Against a Welshman?
Yes.
19. Did he not play Terry Griffiths?
No. 98. Terry was retired by then.
Oh boy. Okay. 1998.
Who was in my pick match from yesterday?
Oh, I forgot. Tell me. You'd have to enlighten me.
Darren Morgan.
Darren Morgan. Very good. Yes. All right. So that's the trivia for the day. We got through some painful trivia there. Okay. So anything else that stood out with Dave yesterday?
Well, I wanted to go back, if I could, to the best of 25s for a moment.
Yep.
Because I wanted to go down the route and just explain why I think the best of 25s are so compelling.
Okay.
Because nothing is decided by them. I mean, nobody wins by winning a best. Nobody wins the tournament by winning a best of 25. But if you do win the best of 25, you're in the semi-finals.
Yeah, that's true.
So you're relevant. You're in match terms, at least. You're relevant. You've won 3 out of the 5 matches that you need to win.
Yeah.
Although
saying,
go on, sorry, Mike.
Yeah, just saying that if you win the best of 25s, 2 best of 25s, and the best of 19, you're only halfway done based on frame amounts.
Yeah. Because what have you got to do? 71 frames to win a world title?
Yep.
And that's only 10 and 25s, 35 and 25 is No, 10, 13, that's only 36. You've only won 36 frames.
Well, best of 25, 26, 36 frames.
Yeah, you've only won 36 and you need 71.
Yeah. So you're just over halfway.
Yeah, but I think the best of 25s are so compelling because, look, we have best of 19 as a final distance now for the UK, the Masters. So we're pretty used to seeing best of 19s, but no other tournament has best of 25s.
No. I thought did the Tour Championship used to have that and then they changed it?
Yeah, they had to change it for COVID reasons last year. And by the way, the Tour Championship format has been changed again. Rather than 2 best of 17s and a best of 19 final, they're having 19s the whole way through now.
Oh, very good. That was changed recently then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good warm-up for the World Championship too. The longer.
Yeah, but that's sort of why I don't. Look, of course, the entire World Championship is great, but the World Championship for me doesn't really start until you get past the first round. Because, like, you see best of 19s more or less all the time. I know the odd turn. I know for the home nations tournaments, the English Open, the Scottish Open, the Northern Ireland Open, and the Welsh Open, they're best of 17s, and the European Masters final is best of 17, and the German Masters final is best of 17. Yep. But apart from that, all the other finals are best of 19. So best of 19 is pretty common distance, whereas best of 25 is now, I know back in the 80s it was a final distance for some tournaments, but But now it is an exclusively World Championship distance, so it's a better test, I think.
Yeah, agreed. I prefer the longer format, the multi-session ideas.
And also as well, it's the psychological thing that Dave was talking about of having to balance an overnight lead.
Yeah, I didn't.
I'll give another example. We all talk about Doherty and Hunter from 2003. Yep. But do you remember what happened to Doherty in the previous round that year?
In 2003?
In the quarters against John.
No. Well, what happened?
He led John, and I'm not joking, but Doherty led John by 10 frames to 0.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
And then John won 7 in a row.
Okay.
To go 10-7, right?
Wow.
So he's 10-0 down, and they come off after the second session, and it's 10-7, right? So Doherty's 10-7 overnight, but in his mind, he thinks he's basically lost it, because he was 10-0. Now, if you'd have given 10-7 after 2 sessions at the start of the match, he'd have bit your hand off, but he wouldn't have given you 10-7 after being 10-0 up.
Yeah, true that. That's very true. That psychology is big.
Yeah, especially overnight leads.
Yeah.
Like if you're leading someone by like several frames, you and I have never been in that position, obviously, but how would you sleep if you're 10 in that position? You were 10-0 and you're now only 10-7 in front.
There'd be a little element of doubt in my mind, maybe. Got a match on my hands now. Like that's what it would feel like.
Yeah, because I mean, Michael McMullen that Dave mentioned helps him on his podcast. Like Michael McMullen is anorak off the scale.
Okay.
And he said he remembers being in the press room at the World Championship that year, and he looked up the odds, what the odds would have been at the start for Ken to lead John 10-0. And do you know what they
No
were?
idea.
5,000 to 1.
To lead 10-0 through the
Yeah.
frames. Yeah, I'm surprised even that seems low in some ways. Because you've got to admit that you've got to win 10 frames against John Higgins consecutively. 10 frames.
I know.
Hard to do, man.
Well, Stephen did it in the final, as Jimmy White knows.
Oh yeah, but the example is so rare. You know what?
Yeah. But I mean, that shows why I think the best of 25s are the best matches in Sheffield, because they're.
Yeah, they are.
Because it's the handling of overnight leagues that makes Sheffield so fascinating.
Yeah, fair enough. I can't dispute that. They.
And do you know what I was saying to my father actually when we were out for a walk earlier? I was saying to him that Ronnie's undoing might be now, this year. The reason I haven't tipped him is because he comes out first on the first morning,
Yeah.
and he's finished, assuming he wins his first round match, on the first night, right? He's finished, and then he has to wait 6 days before playing his second round match while the others play their first round matches. So he's got to keep himself happy between matches, and if he doesn't do that, he'll be vulnerable in the second round.
Yeah, can't dispute that. Because that's a long time without playing.
Whereas if you get to I think if you get to the quarters, you're playing every day. If you go from the quarters to winning it,
yeah,
you're playing every single day.
Yeah, and it's a game where you be playing a lot, get fluent quickly and comfortable and routine and all that.
Yeah. Who should we have as a dark horse?
Like a joint one? Who would we both tip as a dark horse?
Yeah, because we know Trump's the favourite. I'm going for John. You and Graham are going for Ronnie, so we know they're sort of favourites. But who do we want as the outsider? Who's the Joe Johnson, if you like?
The Joe? For me, I mean, as a dark horse, I would go with Jan Bintel.
Yeah. That's not a bad shape.
Yeah, I think he won the Masters. He's been improving every year. Arguably the most improved player this year. I'd go with Jan Bintel.
Yeah.
Who are you?
I'd probably agree with you. And then possibly, someone, if Wilson has a good run.
Kyron, yeah. He hasn't had the best.
Final last year.
Yeah, I mean, he had a final last year. If I'd seen something out of him this season that would kind of hedge it, but I mean, he's also number 5 in the world. He's not really a dark horse in that sense.
Yeah, but he's not quite mentioned in the same breath. Or maybe Willow. Maybe Williams.
He'd be an interesting pick. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure. Is his motivation there to do it? I wonder.
Probably not. Yeah. But then, given what Mark's done at the Crucible in the past, he probably could turn up at Willow.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He would be a decent long shot pick, I would say. But I personally.
Yeah. Jan Bintel, I think that's a good shout, actually.
Yeah, I don't know. He's been good. He's been good. If you look at his body of work for the season, he's got some big scalps. He beat John in the Masters. He's very capable of beating Selby or Ronnie on any given day. He's very capable of that.
Well, it's not only that he won the Masters on debut, which is a big enough feat, right? But he won it with 3 deciders and a 10-8.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I would, yeah. If I had an extra Canadian dollar to wager, I'd probably put it on Yan Bintao. So.
Yeah.
All right. So, any parting comments, any final thoughts before we put a lid on it?
Nothing really. Just join us tomorrow for Marcus Stead
Yeah, Marcus.
of Talk Sport.
Yep. So we'll be back on at 6 o'clock Greenwich Meridian time, and that'll be 11 a.m. Canadian or Pacific Standard Time.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for joining again, Scott. That was a good little go round. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Good to see you once again,
Perfect.
Mike.
We'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully with Graham as well.
Yes.
Perfect. Have a good one.
Goodbye.